affectionately known as Uncle Billy or Bra Billy, was born on 18 December 1930 in Bloemfontein, in the then Orange Free State, to father Gautengwe George and mother Billy Modise. His brothers were Lebogang Edwin, Obiditse Joseph, and Lepile George. The apartheid system constrained opportunities for black people, and Modise's initial ambition was to become a delivery boy, following in the footsteps of one of his uncles, who delivered mail on a bicycle. He received an Anglican scholarship, which enabled him to enroll for his high school in Modderport, where he matriculated. Between 1950 and 1954, he worked at a wholesale store for a medical doctor in order to raise money for his university studies. In January 1955, he enrolled at the University of Fort Hare to study for a Bachelor of Arts degree. As a student at the UFH, he came into contact with Professor Z.K. Matthews and Gavin Mbeki, who inspired him to become politically active. This period marked his introduction to formal politics, which shaped his commitment and lifelong dedication to the struggle against apartheid. He joined the African National Congress in 1955 and was soon elected Secretary of the ANC Youth League, UFH branch. He also served as Secretary of the Student Representative Council. He later became an executive member of the National Union of South African Students, NUSAS. Whilst at UFH, Modise met Dr. Roseberry Bokwe, a physician and a gynecologist, whose father was the composer John Knox Bokwe. Dr. Bokwe had 3 children, Yolisa, who Modise married, Boy, and Nomsa. In January 1960, he was asked by NUSAS to attend a conference in Switzerland. He declined, fearing that applying for a passport would result in his arrest, given his active involvement in politics. The Lund University Students' Union in Sweden offered him a scholarship to study medicine, and the British Students' Union paid for his ticket from Accra, Ghana, to London. The ANC arranged that he would be on their only chartered flight to lift South African ANC refugees from the then Bechuanaland, now Botswana, to Accra. When he got to Bechuanaland, his contact was gone and he missed that lift. He therefore hitchhiked to Tanzania and later got on a plane to London. In Tanzania, he met a Swedish missionary, Barbro Johansson, who facilitated his travel from Tanzania. Modise played a critical role in laying a strong foundation in Sweden that paved the way for future relations between the ANC and Sweden. As a result of his tireless efforts, Sweden became a very central part of the struggle against apartheid. Upon his arrival in Sweden, Modise began mobilizing student formations against apartheid and networking on behalf of the ANC. The strategy was to isolate and boycott all South African products. What gave hope to the ANC that they could achieve their objectives was the distinctly strong egalitarian credo that Sweden and other Nordic countries had, given that they had never been colonial powers and hence had not created the seemingly insoluble problem of the colonial master always remaining the colonial master. Whilst in Sweden, he met and lobbied Olaf Palme, the then Prime Minister, at a function. The Prime Minister advised that the ANC's strategy should in fact be to request the Swedish people to pressure their parliamentarians to support the struggle of the people of South Africa against apartheid. During one of his visits to Lund, former Prime Minister Tage Elander, explained to Modise and his fellow revolutionaries that according to Swedish law and practice, economic sanctions could not be declared against a country that Sweden was not at war with. Sweden was not at war with South Africa in the legal sense, so they could not apply sanctions. He, however, went on to explain that if the ANC was able to persuade the ordinary Swedish consumer not to buy South African products, there was no problem. This posed a major challenge to Modise and his comrades, as it effectively meant talking to every Swede to say, don't buy from South Africa, don't export to South Africa, as they could not stop goods entering Sweden. Undeterred, Modise addressed student structures as this was his base. He traveled to Gothenburg, Stockholm, and Lund, talking to high schools all over Skåne, informing them about the situation in South Africa. Modise was a founding member of the South African Committee in Lund alongside Lars-Erik Johansson and Gulf Agrell. The committee convened meetings, printed posters, pamphlets, and lobbied parliamentarians to support the struggle against apartheid. He also mobilized students from other political movements in Africa, and his tasks were extended to cover liberation movements from across Southern Africa. His work also covered other Nordic countries, and while in Norway, he attended the 1961 Nobel Peace Prize ceremony for the late Chief Albert Luthuli. Billy and Yolisa were married on 23rd March 1964. Friends and comrades donated money to celebrate the occasion. Chaga Lalu, who passed on recently, prepared an outstanding wedding feast. They were blessed with a daughter, Buntle, and a son, Tshepo, both of whom have sadly passed on. In 1966, the ANC Youth and Students Section, ANC-YSS, was formed, with Thabo Mbeki as its leader in Britain. The ANC-YSS had two main objectives: looking after the welfare of the ANC youth and mobilizing youth against apartheid internationally. Modise was one of the ANC-YSS leaders, alongside others, including Joe Nhlanhla, who later played critical roles in the country's transition to democracy. In 1975, Modise was sent to New York in the United States to work for Habitat, the United Nations Conference on Human Settlements. His role was preparing policy papers on issues of resettlements. Between 1976 and 1988, Modise was the assistant director of the UN Institute for Namibia in Lusaka, Zambia, working under the current Namibian President Hage Geingob. The institute provided training in political science, sociology, and education. In 1988, he left the UN to work full-time for the ANC under the leadership of Comrade Oliver Reginald Tambo. He was subsequently deployed to Sweden, where he served as the ANC's chief representative. Modise returned to South Africa in 1990 and was deployed at Shell House, the former ANC head office in South Africa. He was tasked with heading the Matla Trust, which was established to prepare for the first democratic elections in 1994. After the elections, Modise was posted abroad as South Africa's High Commissioner to Canada in 1995. He also served as the Chief of State Protocol under former President Mbeki from 1999 to 2006. He retired from the administration in 2006, but continued to be actively involved in politics. Modise was an integral part of the 101 stalwarts and veterans who were signatories to the document for the sake of our future, and who came together due to their serious concerns about the trajectory that the ANC had taken. He passionately believed that the practices of those who were in power had deviated from the historical mission and revolutionary task of the ANC. In addition to his firm commitment to politics, Modise had a number of other passions, including ballroom dancing. He participated in numerous competitions which covered the various forms of dance, such as the foxtrot, cha-cha, tango, and samba. Together with Rupiah Banda, former president of Zambia, he also formed a popular band called the Billy Rupiah Band in Lusaka. In 2008, Modise received the Order of Luthuli, Silver Class from the then President Mbeki, for excellent contribution in the achievement of a South Africa free of racial oppression and contributing to the building of a non-racial, non-sexist, and democratic South Africa. He also received the Premier's Excellence Award from the Premier of the Free State for his contribution towards the liberation struggle and South Africa in general. In 2017, he was bestowed the Swedish Order of the Polar Star by the Swedish Ambassador to South Africa on behalf of His Royal Highness Carl Gustaf. Modise was the trustee of the African Center for the Constructive Resolution of Disputes. He also served as a board member of the South African Broadcast Corporation. Ambassador Modise passed on in Gauteng on 20 June 2018. He is survived by his wife, Yolisa, daughter, Tandi, grandson, Khosi Tsile, sister, Dorothy, and numerous nephews and nieces. Robala kakagisho motho o kgama e sileng letsholo moato o montsho o peletsweo. May his soul rest in peace.